Welcome back, everyone. We are the Sports Buds. This is the NFL show, Week 17. I am your host, Tony Reyes. Joining me, as always, we have Chris Billings over there. We are missing one of our Sports Buds who is dealing with some connectivity issues with the internet and HOAs. Sorry, Nick. We hope to see you soon. But how are you doing today, Chris?
Doing good, better than Nick, which two words that he's dealing with, HOAs and Comcast. So I'm sure anyone that's dealt with either sympathizes with Nick right now. Yeah, week 17. I don't think I'm gonna catch back up in these standings. just now realizing this.
Right? I mean, HOAs, Comcast, nobody wants to deal with those people. Okay, let's just get right into it then. And speaking of people nobody wants to deal with, apparently the Raiders are benching Derek Carr for the rest of the season, indicating that they are moving on from him as their quarterback of the future. What are your thoughts on this as an AFC West fan?
Told you this. I said, clip boy, pull it. Talked about this earlier in the year that like there's just going to be the eventual parting of ways that like get Derek Carr out of there, like give him basically the Stafford treatment of like get him to some destination where he can win and you guys can just move on as an organization. And I told you earlier in the season, like clearly they're siding with Josh McDaniels, like long term, and just yeah, Mark Davis has that loyalty to coaches and usually doesn't part ways unless he's forced to. So yeah, I kind of saw it coming, but now I'm just more intrigued of where does Derek Carr end up? Because it seems like where we once had a needy QB league, those windows are actually kind of shrinking now, where it's not as many QB needy teams out there.
That's true. And I guess Devontae Adams does just become collateral damage in this entire situation and breakup. More Taco Bell commercials for him, maybe. I don't know. They acquired him after they got McDaniels, right? They got McDaniels and then they made the Devontae Adams trade.
I
So it's
believe
very
so. But no, that's honestly like that's the 30 for 30 that I want to see is like what happened in that offseason? Like with just Hackett going to Denver, Devontae Adams going to Las Vegas, Aaron Rodgers ended back up in Green Bay, and to having like a less than successful year, still might make the playoffs, but definitely not projected where they were supposed to be this year. So yeah, like that's the 30 for 30 I want to see is what happened there? What like where was the disconnect between these three?
some ayahuasca and Aaron Rodgers not knowing how to use his phone in Hawaii. That's my guess. That's my guess. But let's get back to Derek Carr and talk about some landing spots for him, since we did talk about this a little offline throughout Detroit, the Jets, the Texans. Where do you think he possibly lands?
I I think like if you're a team like the Jets, like theoretically you're a quarterback away. I know teams love to say that and it doesn't wind up being true. So they're at the top of my list. I brought up the Ravens. If Lamar Jackson doesn't sign with them and moves on to a different destination, like that would be a good spot for Derek Carr. Um, Beyond that, I could see the Seahawks. I guess he's an upgrade over Geno Smith. You brought up the Lions. I pushed back a little that Goff is probably a better value QB at the moment than Derek Carr for them. So I don't see them parting ways for Derek Carr, especially when you're probably only going to get him for what, 2 or 3 years max.
Fair. That's fair.
I don't see a team like the Niners going out with them because they have a roster full of quarterbacks. They basically have a stable that they can go to at any given moment, apparently. And then the Panthers, I think they've been snake bit too much by trying to get that second round, or when I say second round, like that second destination QB, like they did with Darnold, like they did with Baker Mayfield. So yeah, I don't see them doing it. So Colts could be a potential destination for as well, but like I see them just blowing it up at this point.
That's fair. That's what it looks like to me. That's what I was gonna suggest. I wonder what
Saints
happens.
are another potential destination.
I was gonna suggest the Titans because I think they're moving on from Tannehill at the end of the season too.
And yeah, I could see the Titans as well. And that would be a great spot for him, especially for career longevity, to just be able to hand it off to the king.
That's true. That's true. All right, so let's flip it then. Who do the Raiders want for their quarterback now then?
I think that they might this might be early signs of a tank for next year for Caleb Williams.
Wow. Wow. Okay.
Like they're never gonna say it out loud, but like that's unless they find a QB to replace him, which I don't think they're gonna get. I think they're just gonna get a journeyman QB, kind of like he did in Denver, where he got Kyle Orton, which he thought was gonna be a stopgap to Tim Tebow. I think he's gonna do the same thing. He's gonna have a stopgap that's just gonna keep them a terrible team next year, and then they're gonna go after Caleb Williams.
So Jimmy G to the Raiders confirmed. Jimmy G, you heard it here first. Chris Billings is predicting Jimmy G to the Raiders. I wouldn't be surprised. That seems like it would be the perfect stopgap.
I don't even think it would be Jimmy G. I think they're gonna bring in someone like Teddy Bridgewater.
Wow. Okay. Gardner Minshew? Is this a Minshew spot?
Gardner Minshew,
Is
like
this the
is like
Minshew
another
spot?
one that comes to mind. Like even getting like hell, fucking Bailey Zappi.
Wow.
Like
Wow.
it just I don't see them going after a big name.
All right. All right.
I think they're
We'll see.
doing this with the intention of looking towards 2024.
Wow. That's wild. But I can't disagree with you. I could totally see that. It seems like they had a long-term plan with McDaniels, and they've looked like trash so many points in this season. Many other coaches would have gotten fired. So clearly they have
Well, a lot of my
plan.
argument always has been for a lot of these QBs of like, what's your replacement? Like I've talked about it with Kirk Cousins. We've even talked about it with Dak. Of just
Jared
like
Goff.
Jared Goff, of like who legitimately would you replace them with? Like, and you'd have to almost do that with the understanding of like, this is our replacement. Like we're getting rid of Derek Carr because we're going after this guy and bringing him in, and we think we have a very good shot of it. I don't think that's what they're doing.
Okay. So not buying any of those Tom Brady rumors. Think that's all smoke.
That'd be wild if Brady does end up with the Raiders. I'll say that.
I'd agree. I
But-
would agree.
And my question to you would be like, if Brady did go to the Raiders, like, could you see it going well? I think
I don't think so, man.
I think he's at the we knock on wood. I think the dude's at the twilight of his career.
It seems that way. It seems that way that he's in the final stages there.
So you'd have some awesome weapons there with the Raiders, but that'd be wild. But wouldn't put it past Tom Brady.
All right, let's stay in your AFC West here and talk about the other big news of the week was with the Broncos firing Hackett. Talk to us about this.
It just the owner said it this week of just it was that game against the Rams. Like they pretty much had the intention that they were gonna fire him at the end of the season. and to just keep things going. But it was such an embarrassment, and there's such a spotlight on that game with it being on Nickelodeon, being the only game on CBS. Yeah, it was a culmination of events that they had to make a statement. I'm glad they did. And like, this is probably the first time really since the Super Bowl that we've just had like one defining voice like come out and say like, this is how things are going to be. Like, no more trust, or Joe Ellis or John Elway, coming out with something, or Peyton saying something as GM, as kind of this transition guy for the new ownership. No, like, for the first time since Pat Bowlen was just still had his faculties and was truly the owner, have we felt like we have like one singular voice that says the buck stops with me. So that's good to see, but it's been a shit show of a year. I'm kind of bummed for Hackett. Like, I think it wasn't entirely his fault. Like, there's definitely a lot that was his fault, and there's things that he approached this year that just were nails in his coffin. But I do think this was a guy that, like, Russell Wilson kind of ended up making this guy being the scapegoat for all of it this season. And I feel bad for him a little bit.
So what's next?
It seems like they're gonna go after a big name. And the names being thrown around are Sean Payton, Jim Harbaugh, Frank Reich, Dan Quinn. So, like, clearly, like, they want a veteran coach, they want a big name coach. I'm all for that.
Do you think George Payton stays there?
I honestly think that his time's ticking here, depending on the coach. If they get someone like Jim Harbaugh, he's out the door by June.
Wow.
Because Harbaugh's gonna take that power for him. Someone like Sean Payton comes in, yeah. Other Payton, you're out the door by June. Now, if it's someone like Dan Quinn, I think it's where they're gonna have a cohesive relationship where they're gonna be in an equal setting, but they're gonna lean on one another for different things, but still reporting to the Penner Group. So it depends on who the coach is, but I think if they go for like those big splash coaches that I think they really do want to go after, he's gone.
It's interesting because he has a really good reputation, like, throughout the league. Like,
Yeah.
everyone respects him. Nick, he made like one mistake with the
He's
Russell
a great
Wilson
scout,
extension.
great evaluator of talent. Free agency, contract signings, that's what bit him. That's what was his undoing, was giving receivers big contracts and then not really showing up post contract. Giving contract to Russell Wilson that was unnecessary at the time. Trading for Russell Wilson. So those are the things that were his undoing. But like, if you look at his draft even last year, like, you can say like getting Pat Surtain over Justin Fields was a mistake. But at the same time, like, if you look at his draft, he got Surtain, he got Dulcich, gotten a couple other starters for the team that have come out this year. So like, he is a good evaluator, he is a good drafter. But as far as a GM, he's left us wanting. And honestly, I think he just wants to go back to being like that guy behind the curtain and just evaluate and scout talent.
Yeah, I mean, I could see it. It's just, man, finding a coach that can fix Russell Wilson. That's going to be the challenge, because clearly with Hackett, he was like wanting to run an offense that he didn't even understand, which makes no sense. And that it kind of explains.
I don't even think it was necessarily that he didn't understand it, it's that he didn't want to understand it.
Yeah.
It was still that mentality of like, let Russ cook. Like, I got this, baby. Like, let me cook out here.
Yeah, I mean, he's pretty stubborn with the way he plays, and it's just going to be tough to find a coach that can
He's
maximize
stubborn
that.
in general. I don't think that I'm kind of in the boat with you at this point. I don't think there's any salvaging him.
So, who do you bring in to compete with them?
I like the only thing that you're gonna get is in the draft. And so yeah, like you either just need to eat the money and get rid of them this offseason. You're legitimately stuck with them the next 2 or 3 years because you're not going to be bad enough next year to get Caleb Williams with him on the team.
Yeah, that's true.
So, and like that's the only competition that's gonna put heat on Russ is that type of player coming in where the fan base is gonna demand it. Media is gonna essentially demand it. So, but no, if you just draft some dude in like the third or fourth round, it's not gonna compete with Russ, especially with that contract. That's really the albatross.
Yeah, that's true. And I brought up Daniel Jones, Zach Wilson, possible buy low candidates. I wonder if Ryan Tannehill would be good there. Man, that would certainly spice things up.
And I think for the money that he's even garnering at the moment, he's too expensive.
Yeah, that's fair. I can see that. Uphill battle. Uphill battle. Hopefully they can figure out some coach that can make them look better
That's
than
that's your
this.
only option out of this scenario, really, is to find some coach that can get something out of them.
That's true. I agree. We'll see who that guy is. If it is one of those big names or who they find, or if it's a first time head coach, doesn't seem like that's something that you guys really want as a first time head coach. You want someone
No.
that has experience that'll be able to manage that and help them. Yeah, I don't know.
No, we've been burned with that, so we're done here in Broncos country with the first time coaches. I really don't see that happening.
Damn. God, man. Broncos just messed this hire up so bad. So bad.
It's been a culmination of events over the last 6 years. It's death by 1,000 cuts is really what it comes down to. Of just like all these different things have added up over the years, and you collapse like Southwest Airlines, pretty much.
True. That's very true. It's accurate statements there. Have no disagreements. Speaking of collapses, let's talk about our friend Nick's Dolphins in South Florida here with the Tua situation. Not looking good, man. This is not looking good at all. This is just a terrible,
Feel bad because
look.
Nick's not here to defend himself, but yeah, like it's a shit show in Miami right now. And especially at the concussion situation, like what's going on there? Like he played the whole game. So what
It's so
like
it's
and
complicated, man.
and this is like honestly, like this is probably strike 3 this season on that staff
Yeah.
in terms of just like these weird little concussion things. So that's not looking good for them on just like an administrative sense. Like the NFL is probably going to come down on you. Not looking good for career longevity for Tua.
Yep.
And I'll say this: a lot of people in national media shitting on Tua this week. Like he's still the best quarterback that team has had since Marino. I'll say it. Like there's no moving on from him. This is once again that argument comes up of like who are you replacing him with? Like I guess if you're bringing in Tom Brady, but then you're only renting Brady for like a year or two. You're
How
not
much
gonna.
longer do you think Tua plays?
I don't know, man. I don't know. Like he'll personally probably stick through it, but it has to catch up with him eventually, you'd think. but I'm not a doctor. I don't know how like this stuff like how that adds up eventually when you're just constantly getting concussed.
Yeah, I mean, it makes after that performance in the second half, it makes a lot of sense because it was just terrible
Like,
interceptions. They're just awful.
for all I know, like dude plays another 5 years, gets like an MVP, goes to an AFC championship. Like, I don't know. Like that's just the
Yeah,
weird game of football.
true.
Um, it's just different with him because his concussions have been prominent. It's not like some special teams guy that like you don't know about that keeps getting concussed, or some lineman that's constantly gotten concussed, or some linebacker, like so it's different with him because the spotlight was on him to begin with
Yeah,
this year for some odd reason. But I'd say Dolphins fans still have some perspective. Like Daniel's your coach, Tua is your QB. You got amazing weapons. Like there's definitely some things to be desired on defense. Xavier Howard's definitely screwed him at moments, and that secondary in general. So you got to fix that. You got to hope that this pass rush finally comes together. That Chubb starts really just having some impact in games. But like, there's a lot to look forward to with this team. But yes, we talked about it in a previous episode. If they don't make the playoffs, that is below expectations for this year for this team.
yeah, I would agree. I mean, they were 8-3 at one point. I mean, I don't understand why that team stops running the ball. They are like one of the best running teams I've seen in the league. They constantly like move the chains, set themselves up 3rd and 4, 3rd and 3, 2nd and 4, like good situations for Tua. And then in the second half, they just think that he's like Rodgers or something, and they call all these passes. And I'm like, why are you doing this? The running game was working. It's unstoppable. Worked against Buffalo, worked against every team it works against, and it should be Tua off of that run game. And instead, it's like, oh, now that's first half. It's time for us to open up the offense and Tua just to drop back and throw deep to Tyreek Hill and Waddle. It's just like, why do you stop that? That is a proven formula for success. That's my only criticism of the Dolphins offense. I'm like, why do you go away from this run game that works? It's unstoppable against any defense. But for some reason, they always go away from it and put Tua in these situations. It's weird, very weird to watch. I like that Packers game was insane. I was like, what are you doing? Made no sense to me. No sense. I don't think we see Tua again for the rest of the season though. So I don't think the Dolphins are gonna make the playoffs, man.
I don't see him making the playoffs, especially with Teddy Bridgewater most likely playing this weekend. But yeah, I guess that's well, yeah. You lose to the Patriots this week, it's probably done. Shut it down for the season. So might be right there.
Yeah, and then it's Jets a week after. So I don't really see like any possibility. I think the Jets probably get that last spot over them. All right, we'll move forward here. Oh, my Cowboys beating the Eagles. We talked a little bit about this offline. Shakes up the whole NFC, man. When does Jalen Hurts return? Like all the pressure is on Philadelphia now on what they're gonna do with this guy. What do you think? When do you think he returns?
It's sounding more and more like he's not going to be back till the playoffs, and that's not ideal.
Yeah, I would agree. We did talk a little bit about you just saying the Eagles can't win shootouts, and I was just like, dude, this defense got exposed, man. Like the first time they play a good quarterback, they're getting sliced up, giving up leads. Like the Cowboys gave them a 10-point lead twice in that game, and the Cowboys came back and won. So I'm just like, I get it. Minshew isn't Hurts, but Minshew is probably going to be a starter on some team next year. So he's more than capable as a backup. I'd say Gardner Minshew's a lot better than Cooper Rush. And I don't know. Just seems like that team is having the injuries at the worst time, and they're having to face adversity at the worst time. I don't know if they can put it all together. We'll see what happens.
And we talked about that earlier with the Eagles of like, hey, sometimes it's better to be wounded early than late.
Yeah.
And so like, yeah, like it's great that you went on like this 13 game run or whatever. Now it's not looking good.
Yeah, I mean, the Cowboys aside, I don't think the Niners are worried about playing the Eagles. I don't even think the Vikings are worried about playing the Eagles. I think that they definitely have come back down, and I don't think that people are like they're a tier above everyone. I think people are like, oh okay, we've seen this before. That's just
The
what
only
I'm
thing that can
saying.
beat the Vikings is what time they play.
Let's talk a little bit about this Vikings team. I cannot they're like the luckiest team in the world, man. I cannot pinpoint them. I came on here, I was like, Giants are beating them. That's my lock. They come out there and get a 61-yard field goal to win as time expires. 11 wins, 11 close wins. Like I can't understand this team, man. I don't get it.
Vikings still didn't cover in that game though, so fuck them for that. But guess sometimes it's better to be lucky than good. Because
Yep.
they've like usually those one score squeaker games that they lose, like they've been winning this year. So
Yep.
credit to them. I still think they're a phony team that's most likely going to lose their first playoff game, but I like. Would you be surprised if the Vikings went to the Super Bowl?
Yes, very much surprised. They don't beat good teams. Like they just like survive against all these
I mean, you
teams.
wouldn't necessarily have to beat a good team to get to the Super Bowl. Like, I'm just
I would be very surprised. I don't know. I don't know. Winning close games is tough though, and I mean I can't give all this credit to Brian Dable and the Giants for doing this all season and not give any credit to the Vikings for doing it too. But man, it just seems like the clock is ticking, and one of these games the ball is going to bounce the other way, and they're going to lose one of these close ones.
you'd think. Hasn't happened so far. It's been pretty frustrating to watch as somebody saying they're a phony team.
This is true.
Just
This is
watch.
true.
They'll prove me. Prove me right.
Do you think that Kevin O'Connell should be coach of the year at this point?
Now.
Who would you vote for coach of the year?
Like I would probably give it to Kyle Shanahan. Yeah.
Scheme Lord, man.
Then coach of the Bengals,
Oh, Zach Taylor.
Zach Taylor.
Yeah. Yeah, I probably have to agree with you. Kyle Shanahan, that guy. Third quarterback, keeps winning games. I don't understand it. It's just a Jedi.
It seems like most of the love of the Vikings are getting is not for their coach, but for Kirk Cousins. So
This is
it just
true.
doesn't seem likely.
All right, we'll move forward into our power rankings here. Since Nick is not here, I'll go through his real quick. He's got the Bills at 1, Eagles at 2, Niners 3, Chiefs 4, Bengals 5. Let's see. We do all have the same 5 teams in our power rankings. How did you rank them, Billings?
I ranked 5 to the Bengals. Start giving you a little more credit now.
Okay.
4 was the Bills. 3 the Eagles. 2 the Niners, and then 1 the Chiefs. So I told you offline, I think the Chiefs are the only team that can beat the Niners right now.
It's fair. This is fair. I had a totally different one. I put the Bengals at number 1. I'm buying this Joe Burrow stock as much as possible. Got the Bills at number 2, Chiefs at 3, Niners at 4, and Eagles at 5. Just I think all those teams would beat the Eagles if they played them, to be honest. So that's why I've dropped the Eagles so far down. I think that defense got exposed against a good quarterback, and I don't think that they match.
So why are you ranking the Eagles above your Cowboys? That's my question to you.
Because right now they have home field and they have the bye.
Okay.
So if they lose to the Saints, I'm gonna be like, no, it's over for them. It's over, man. It's over. And the Cowboys will have a chance at or the Vikings or someone will have a chance of getting that 1 seed in the bye. But I'm gonna give them a little bit. I'm gonna let them hang on there. Let them hang on. They still have some pretty good players. They still have some decent coaches. We'll see what happens with them. We'll see. But it definitely seems like they're trending the wrong way. And the Cowboys, their inconsistency, man. That seems to be what everyone is knocking them for. They lose a heartbreaker, then they come back and they win. They need to have some type of balance. They need to have that consistent winning streak before people will start buying into them.
We'll talk about just that here shortly when we get to that Cowboys game.
All right. We'll move forward then. Let's take a look at these results for week 16. I came in first at 7-7-2. We had 2 pushes this week. Fun times. Chris was right there at 5-9-2. And then Nick last 4-10-2. So we continue to drop our percentages here. Looks like I'm down to 52.6. Nick is at 46.9, and Billings hanging out there at 43%. All right.
Yeah, don't think I'm catching up.
We'll wait those playoff games. We'll wait them 10 games each. We'll see how it goes. All right. Starting off these week 17 spreads. My Cowboys on the road against the Titans. 10-point favorites. We were all in agreement on the Titans in this one. And then the news broke right before we were recording. I shared it with Billings that the Titans are resting all their players. Derek Henry's doubtful to play. All their good players are doubtful to play because they're trying to get to the playoffs and they play the Jags next week, and it's winner gets the division in that one. 10 points is a lot though, and we did all pick the Titans. What did you want to get to with this?
Just that the Cowboys, they have these just high emotional wins, and then the next week it's and so even if the Titans are resting players, I think it's going to be a close game. No, the Titans are not going to win this game, but the Cowboys, yeah, they're going to have a little bit of a letdown this week after that big win.
I could see it. I know that the Cowboys are talking about resting players like Tony Pollard as well as Micah Parsons possibly for this game because they don't know if they can catch the Eagles because their game is before them, so they don't really know what to do. They're talking about resting them for that last game too, so I don't know. 10 points does seem like a lot, but if it's the Titans practice squad out there, I don't know.
You don't need Tony Pollard to beat them. You don't need Micah Parsons to beat them.
I agree.
Sit them.
I agree. Rest them, but we'll see what happens. Get Cooper Rush some more snaps. Rest Dak. These games are meaningless. All right. Let's move forward here. Battle the Birds. Cardinals, Falcons. Falcons, 3.5-point favorites. I'm on my lonely island picking against the Falcons. That's right, people. I have no integrity. I'm selling that Falcon stock. I'm selling them short. I'm picking the Cardinals because of the hook. Tell me why I'm wrong, Billings.
The Cardinals team is bad. Just everything about that team is in disarray. They made JJ Watt retire. So yeah, and then it's probably gonna be Trace McSorley out there again.
No, it's not. It's Colt. It's Colt McCoy. Colt McCoy this week.
I don't know how much of an upgrade that is, but I'm gonna go with the Falcons still.
God, I cannot believe.
I think they win by a touchdown.
They very well could. I can't believe the Cardinals blew that game against the Bucks on Monday. That was I was like, this is ridiculous. How? But of course, let Tom Brady hang around. That's what's going to happen. So wouldn't be surprised. Nick is also on the Falcons on that one. We got Nick's Dolphins going to the Patriots. Patriots 2.5-point favorites. Nick's the only one picking the Dolphins. I'm guessing he didn't know about all this news when he made that pick.
He will
We're
never
both-
pick the Patriots, Tony. You know
It's
that
true.
like it's
This is true.
never.
No. But yeah, I don't Teddy Bridgewater up there in the cold. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. But what are your thoughts on that one?
Same. Teddy Bridgewater is gonna get eaten alive by Bill Belichick, even if that team is they're in chaos as well. So yeah, I see the Patriots winning this game.
Same. I agree with you on that. Saints, Eagles, 6.5-point favorites. Eagles at home. I'm on my lonely island picking the Saints. Still don't know who the quarterback is going to be in that one. It's probably going to be a 7. It's probably going to be a 7. I probably going to lose this by half a point, and the Eagles will win by 7. That's what I'm thinking right now. God damn it! But tell me why I'm wrong.
You don't believe me, but I still think the Eagles are phenomenal in the trenches, and the Saints are the opposite of that. They're horrendous in the trenches. So that is why I'm picking the Eagles, despite who their QB is.
That's fair. The Cowboys got 0 sacks on Gardner Minshew, so they definitely have a great offensive line. Protect them. I could see them cooking up that Saints team that's been beyond disappointing this year. Talking about disappointing, we got Jeff Saturday and the Colts. You owe me money because that game on was that Sunday or Monday, that game against the Chargers? I don't know why I picked the Colts to cover. Honestly, Nick Foles was out there. They could have played like 7 games, and I don't think the Colts would have scored a touchdown with the way that offense was running. So yes, all that shit talking aside, Giants 5-point favorites at home. We are all in agreement on the Giants. What are your thoughts on this, Billings?
The Colts might be more cooked than the Broncos at this point. The only difference is they don't have this just future albatross black cloud hanging over their head. Like they at least have some options this offseason of where to go. But yeah, like that's just they're gonna have a new coach. Jeff Saturday's not gonna be there next year. They're gonna have a different quarterback. Like probably the only thing that's gonna be there is that offensive line and Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah.
Everything else is expendable.
Yeah. Disarray.
New GM. Yeah. So
Damn. Ballard's such a good GM and you're trying to get rid of him? We'll see what's up.
he's probably gone, I think.
Okay. Fair enough.
Like that's a situation much like with Payton in Denver that like say they bring in Jim Harbaugh later. Bye.
So true. All right. Speaking of clouds of uncertainty, Panthers 3-point underdogs against the Bucks. Bucks at home here. Nick picking the Panthers. Billings, I don't even think you want to pick the Bucks. You're just talking about a push here. Tell me more.
Yeah, I don't want to pick the Bucks, but I know it'll be some bullshit at the end where Tom Brady gets them in field goal range or scores a touchdown. So I just know it. I know it in my heart of hearts.
I agree. That Panthers team had a great win against the Lions. Nobody thought that was going to happen. The Lions were like the most publicly bet team last week, and the Panthers just curb stomped them and controlled that whole game. So
yeah, I finally got one against the Lions.
There he goes. But yeah, I think Billings is right on with this one. Some bullshit's going to happen at the end with Tom Brady, and all of a sudden they're going to be in field goal range, and it probably will end up a push. So yeah.
It's going to probably be almost identical to that Cardinals game.
Yes, I agree. Fucking ridiculous. All right. You got your Broncos.
I'm willing to bet too, Tony. He's gonna do this in a playoff game. He's gonna go ass backwards in the playoffs, and then he's gonna do it in the playoffs. Yes, or he's just gonna win just some boring ass shit football game where he's gonna win like 13-9. Yeah, like I'm warning you.
I do fear him. I do fear him. That is who the Cowboys are set to match up with right now.
And that's where I say, like, I could see it with the Vikings where they beat just some dog shit Bucks team. Then like they go to Philadelphia and beat the Eagles that won't even have like Jalen Hurts, and then somehow they're in the Super Bowl.
God, I hope not. God, I hope not. We don't need that. We don't need Kirk Cousins in the Super Bowl. That's just too much. Okay. The Broncos, 13.5-point underdogs against the Chiefs. All of us picking the Chiefs. What do we even need to talk about this one? No. Okay.
We've wasted way too much time on the Broncos this year. Dear God.
Fair. They've wasted plenty of your time. I agree. Lions.
They've wasted America's time.
This is true. This is true. So the Lions here, I know you can't pick them, even though you did get that victory last week. 5.5-point home favorites against the Bears. You're picking the Bears. Tell me why.
Let's go Bears. Yeah, just that. I can't pick the Lions. I have honor. I have integrity. I owe it to the fans of this show. No, sorry, Lions. Go Bears.
The Bears were covering that game against the Bills for like 3 quarters. 3 quarters in that frigid, windy game. And then all of a sudden, I looked at the score at the end of that game, 35-13. And I was like, how? When did all these points happen? But Jesus, yes. Can't pick that Bears
Josh
team.
Allen plays better in the elements. Like I'm not even kidding. And everybody like they're like, oh, Josh Allen's not gonna be able to do this, and then you have to remember, oh yeah, this guy played in Laramie, Wyoming. Like,
yeah,
knows how to play in the shit elements.
Speaking of shit, we got the Browns going to the Commanders Stadium. More shit. Washington 2.5-point favorites. You and Nick picking the Commanders, and I'm on my lonely island.
Why are you picking the Browns? That's what I'm more interested in.
Carson Wentz is playing for the Commanders, man. Carson Wentz is starting. I was like, this is guaranteed turnover action. The Browns are going to win that game. Browns are going to win that game.
Sean Watson doesn't look good. That Browns team doesn't look good. Like, basically seems like their only offensive weapon is Nick Chubb.
Yep. It's fair.
And
fair.
Yeah. Like, it's going to be a butt game. I'll tell you that much.
Agreed.
Carson Wentz to Sean Watson, the game nobody wanted. It's going to be hideous colors as well. Just everything about this game is going to be terrible.
I agree. And man, the Commanders just got their asses kicked by the Niners. They like have good receivers. They went up there. They changed quarterbacks mid-game, put Wentz in. He was throwing deep. Didn't matter. Niners just stomped them. Just totally in control of that game. Real impressive win. Browns pulling the upset. Just you watch. Billings like, don't care. Nobody needs to watch this game. Fair. Texans, Jaguars. Jaguars 4-point favorites on the road. Both of you guys picking the Jags, and I'm on my lonely island picking the Texans. Change this one because I saw that crap about the Titans, and I was like, Jaguars are going to do the same thing. Jaguars are not going to play their good players. They're going to rest them all for that Titans matchup next week. Texans have a chance at winning this game outright. Just you watch. That's why I'm picking the Texans.
Heavily disagree. I think even the Jags B squad beats the Texans. And it's a divisional matchup, so like even the backups are going to come out and fight in this game.
True, I can see it. Texans win that game, they lose the number 1 pick. So we'll see what happens. We will see what happens because they have that tie, so it'll like move them behind the Bears. We'll see. I'll take the Texans.
Bears winning this week, so.
Bears winning.
Go
this
for
one.
it, Texans.
We were mentioning the Niners there, and then we talked about Derek Carr and the Raiders. Raiders are hosting the Niners as 5.5-point favorites. At the time I did that spread, it is like 10.5 now with that backup Stidham in there. We're all picking the Niners. Even at 10.5, I would pick the Niners. To be honest, this Raiders team is just, dysfunction. It's over. They're broken. Josh Jacobs wants out of there. I saw that little press conference.
Yep.
And that Brock Purdy guy said, "Fuck you, Tony. I'm legit. Look at me just turn into Kurt Warner Jr. over here and just dice and slice up defenses." Son of a bitch, man. Son of a bitch. I worry about that team.
Yep.
I worry about that, man.
And because of this, I guarantee it's going to be a dominant Niners crowd there. They're going to travel well from Cali. There's a bunch of Niners fans in Las Vegas. Whatever Raiders fans are there, they're going to sell their tickets because they don't want to watch Jared Stidham. So my 10.5, whatever. Niners will cover it.
Agreed. Looks like we got some more disagreement here. Seahawks, 2.5-point favorites at home against the Jets. Confirmed Mike White is starting this week for the Jets. Why are you picking the Seahawks in this game, Billings?
Say it with me, kids. Classic case of East Coast team going to the West Coast. That's just don't see it. Like I think the Jets are the better team, and just having to travel's probably going to be a little bit of a nightmare this week as well. I see the Seahawks pulling this out by a field goal.
I could see it very well. The Geno Smith magic is like ended. It is ended. He was like the hottest quarterback. They found a franchise quarterback. They haven't looked very good for a while. Like the last month.
As much shit as the Seahawks fans have been talking, rightfully so, you're only 3 wins above the Broncos this year, which should have been the opposite. But so that's why I think honestly, like the Seahawks, like they're going to be looking at different options next year, and so Derek Carr, and in terms of like having some longevity in your career, like Pete Carroll's the guy. Like he's not going to lean on you passing the ball all the time. Like
it's true.
Constantly been done throughout your career. Like he's going to give you a much more balanced approach. And I think that's going to be much more conducive to where Derek Carr's at right now.
I agree. And I know it's a little revenge game for Geno, but I'm backing Mike White here. Jets win this game. Vikings, Packers. Packers 3-point favorites at home. Another game. I'm on my lonely island picking this Packers team while both you and Nick are backing the Vikings. Tell me why you're backing this Vikings team.
I'd say the Packers' luck needs to run out eventually. Like they've been on a little tear here at late that I don't think that's who their team is. They're not that good. So I think the Vikings come in there and kick their ass.
At Lambeau?
Yes.
Damn. Bold talk right there. Vikings winning that game outright, Billings says. I think it's a late afternoon game for Kirk Cousins. A little bit of spotlight there. I don't like that team in the cold
Justin
weather.
Jefferson's going to come out and be like, "Hey, Aaron Rodgers, don't you wish you had a fucking receiver like me?"
Yeah, I could see that, but we'll see. The Vikings beat the Packers to start the season. I think the Packers even it out and they win this to stay alive in that playoff race, despite my best intentions of trying to forget about this team. Goddamn Aaron Rodgers, that nightmare.
Go away.
That's right. Go away. We're done with you. Okay. Speaking of teams that we should be done with here, we got the Rams. Baker Mayfield here. 6.5-point favorites going against the Chargers. Oh, a little LA battle here.
Battle for Los Angeles.
12 fans be at this game. 6 Chargers fans, 6 Rams fans. So why are you picking the Rams here?
Because the Rams have looked like the better team of late.
How? How are you going to say that? The Chargers have won like 3 in a row.
Baker Mayfield, baby. My my comeback player of the year pick. Which would be hilarious if he did win this game and then won the next game and they gave him that award.
I think you just have like the PTSD from that Broncos Rams Nickelodeon game, man. I don't think that Baker Mayfield has been that good.
I think that Sean McVay's unlocked something in him that it's working. Yeah. And Chargers, they're just bound to fuck one up here. It's
true.
It's their character.
True. They did clinch the playoffs. I could see, similar to how you said that the Cowboys, emotional win against the Colts, coming back down to earth. 6.5 is
regardless of all that bullshit I just spouted at you. 6.5 points is still too much.
It's true. It is a lot. It is a lot. We'll see what's going on. We got a couple better games here. Steelers Ravens Sunday Night Football game was the one that they chose to flex. Pretty smart over Dolphins Patriots, to be honest. Baltimore 3-point favorites at home. Nick on his lonely island picking the Ravens. Billings and I backing the Steelers. Tell us why you're backing the Steelers here with me.
I'm tired of I'm tired of picking the Ravens this year.
He's just done with it, man.
Yeah, I never know what I'm gonna get out of them, so I'm done with them. Never know who their QB is gonna be. Done.
I hear you. Tomlin, underdog, usually does well. Pulled that nonsense out against the Raiders last week. They definitely should have lost that game, but he just flourishes in that role, and I don't think the Ravens sweep them. I think the Ravens beat them earlier this year, so I think the Steelers take care of this one. All right. This is pretty much the game of the week here, Monday Night Football. Bengals hosting the Bills. Bills favored by 1. So, I mean, what does that really mean? Basically a pick'em game. Both of us backing the Bengals while Nick is backing the Bills. Share with us your thoughts on this game.
That Troy Aikman and Joe Buck have to be so fucking thrilled that they finally got a legit game. Like, holy shit. It only took 17 weeks.
Yeah.
But no, I'm taking the Bengals in this. I think that they're just the better team at the moment, even though my power rankings don't indicate that. They will next week though if the Bengals win, but I legit think the Bengals come out and win this game.
I agree.
And then they're gonna have beat the Bills and KC, and people are gonna be forced to then reconcile. Is this Bengals team back? Because a lot of us sure were shitting on them at the beginning of the year.
Yep, I agree with everything you said there. I think that Bengals defense has been a little underrated. They've been pretty good here. They've been shutting down teams, shutting down quarterbacks. And it's tough to find a quarterback playing better than Joe Burrow.
Shutting down receivers.
Yes, they've been shutting down receivers, but I don't think Josh Allen is completely healthy. Doesn't look right. I mean, maybe he just is that erratic when he plays, but like I said in that Bears game, it's like, dude, you look like crap, like bad, throwing all kinds of picks and then pulling nonsense out to win at the end.
I don't know, he kind of made us forget about it, but you have your bad Josh Allen, good Josh Allen moments still with him. There's definitely some more refining to be done with him. So maybe everybody was just a little bit too early on their MVP picks, but yeah.
If the Bills do win that game, though, holy crap, that puts the stranglehold on the AFC, and I think they lock up the bye, and that'll be wins at Cincinnati and Kansas City, which will be
I think it would be worse for this Bills team, and hear me out, to win this game, because then they would just overboost their confidence. They would go right
Okay.
back to how they were at the beginning of the season of like, oh yeah, nobody can stop us. And that's not good for this team. Like they need to be humbled a little bit.
I agree. They need to be humbled.
And if suddenly in their minds going into the playoffs, they're thinking like, oh, we're the underdog to the Bengals. Like that's a completely different mentality.
Yeah.
And then one that their fans can resound around and be like, hell yeah, we're the underdogs.
I would completely feel different about this game if it was in Buffalo, but the fact that it's in Cincinnati and Cincinnati's the underdog, I was like, no, this is too easy. Give me the home dog. Give me Joe Burrow right now. Like Bills, I think what you're saying, they're a little too overconfident. They need to get humbled. And the Bills team, I mean, the Bengals been like red hot. They're like the AFC version of the Niners. Like they haven't lost in a couple months.
They're the team no one wants to face right now.
Yeah, that's why I'm leaning with them. I'm taking the Bengals. Those are going to be the picks for the week. We miss you, Nick. Hope you return here for next week. You can survive your battles with HOA and Comcast.
Comcast, you owe us one. Southwest, you owe a lot of people one.
Right. Right. I know, Nick, you're a big underdog in this battle against the HOAs and Comcast. We're backing you. We hope you come through. The underdog will go ahead and come through and show up for week 18.
So it's clear we are an anti-HOA show. So just want that stated.
Hey, I'm anti-Comcast as well. I just don't really have many options.
AT&T, you're another one. Fuck you. Get lost.
Yep. That's right. Take them all. That Spectrum, that's who I got right now. We'll take you down.
Who are they missing? CenturyLink. We've got you as well. CenturyLink, you suck.
Let's just go through the laundry list of cable internet providers that we hate. Excel.
We're looking for sponsorships. Hit us up, Dish.
Dish. YouTube TV. I saw you with that NFL Network deal or the NFL Sunday Ticket. Throw some coins at us here. Maybe we could dance for you guys.
That's all I got. That's it. That's all I got as well, Tony.
Thanks for watching the NFL show week 17, everyone. You guys have yourselves a wonderful weekend.
Thanks for watching the Sports Budz. Be sure to like, follow, and subscribe.